Throughout the annals of history, there exist stories that challenge our understanding of conflict and time. Today, I invite you on a journey through one of the most unusual chapters of the past, the 335-year war between the Netherlands and the Isles of Scilly. This strange saga, which spanned from 1651 to 1986, is not marked by fierce battles, dramatic sacrifices, or heroic triumphs, but by a peculiar series of bureaucratic oversights and diplomatic misadventures. In this narrative, the conflict is not defined by the clash of armies or the roar of cannons, but rather by the slow ticking of administrative errors that, for centuries, allowed a dispute to linger without resolution. As I reflect upon this curious incident, my mind ponders the very nature of war and peace, realizing that not all conflicts are fought with bloodshed and violence, but sometimes with the quiet persistence of bureaucratic record-keeping. The story begins in an era when the world was a mosaic of emerging powers and shifting alliances. The mighty Netherlands, renowned for its maritime prowess and economic innovation, found itself entangled in a perplexing situation with a remote group of islands known as the Isles of Scilly. Though these islands were small and of minor consequence in larger European politics, they inadvertently became the stage for a lingering dispute that stretched over 300 years. Every administrative misstep, every overlooked document, and every minor clerical error contributed to a baffling saga that defied the conventions of war. This narrative promises insight into the odd intersection of history, diplomacy, and the unexpected endurance of a conflict that was never truly fought, inviting you to explore a tale that is as intriguing as it is unprecedented. This prelude ushers in an exploration of a mysterious enigma that enthralls scholars and inquisitive souls. To truly comprehend the unusual nature of this 335-year war, it is essential to step back and examine the broader historical canvas on which it was painted. In the mid-17th century, Europe was a continent in flux, a stage set for expansion, discovery, and remarkable transformations. The Netherlands emerged as a powerhouse in trade and maritime endeavors. Traders and explorers from this industrious nation navigated vast oceans, establishing colonies, negotiating complex alliances, and sending ships laden with goods across distant lands. This period was characterized by rapid economic growth and remarkable cultural achievements, as new ideas and artistic movements began to flourish. Meanwhile, the Isles of Scilly, a cluster of small islands located off the southwestern tip of England, existed in relative isolation. Their remote position and modest resources meant they were often overlooked by major European powers. Yet these islands possessed a quiet charm and a self-contained way of life that had little interaction with the tumult of continental politics. Despite their obscurity, they found themselves inexplicably entwined in an administrative conflict with one of Europe's maritime giants. The historical context is rich with contrasts. On one side lay the innovative spirit and global ambitions of the Netherlands, and on the other, the unassuming, unhurried existence of a minor island community. The complexity of 17th-century territorial and diplomatic relations, combined with the limited speed of communication and the imperfections of record-keeping, created fertile ground for misunderstandings. It was a time when even the smallest discrepancy in treaties or clerical errors could inadvertently spark disputes that would echo across generations. The meeting of such disparate worlds led to a peculiar relationship punctuated by irony, curiosity, and the slow march of time. By delving into this background, we begin to understand that history is not solely written by dramatic conquests or celebrated battles. Sometimes, it is the subtle interplay of administrative quirks and the convergence of contrasting cultures that give rise to enigmas capable of spanning centuries. Reflecting upon these diverse elements, one recognizes that history is often a tapestry woven from disparate threads. Each nuance, every overlooked detail, contributes to a narrative that defies simple categorization. The juxtaposition of a global maritime empire with a secluded island community invites us to question traditional notions of power and conflict, ultimately revealing that even the smallest corner of the world can hold a significant historical intrigue. In the midst of bustling trade and diplomatic maneuvering, an unforeseen dispute emerged in 1651 that would set in motion a conflict unlike any other. The roots of this long-standing war lie in a minor misunderstanding, a clerical error, a misinterpreted treaty, or perhaps a combination of both, that inadvertently declared the Isles of Scilly as enemies of the Dutch state. It is a testament to how a simple error in administrative documentation can echo through time and shape historical narratives in the most unexpected ways. In an era when official records were meticulously maintained on parchment and errors were hard to rectify due to slow communication, a single misstep could carry monumental consequences. The administrative machinery of the Netherlands, already stretched by the demands of maintaining a vast colonial empire and managing international trade, found itself entangled in a dispute that was born not out of animosity, but from oversight. This initial error was soon compounded by later bureaucratic practices, allowing the dispute to fester, as neither side fully acknowledged the mistake. In the archives, one finds evidence of misfiled documents and overlooked declarations that, over time, rendered the conflict more an administrative relic than an active combat engagement. As years turned into decades and centuries, the error became woven into the fabric of official records, a forgotten relic of a legal formality. Historians examining the documents discovered peculiar evidence that pointed to an unintended state of war, a status that persisted on paper without any military mobilization. The ruling officials of the Netherlands, engrossed in their own imperial ambitions, simply carried forward the mistake from one generation to the next, while the Isles of Scilly, isolated and largely indifferent to the bureaucratic machinations of a distant power, never saw the need to challenge the error. This slow-burning dispute thus transformed into a silent yet enduring testament to the imperfections of human administration. The tale is steeped in irony. A misunderstanding of minor consequence at its inception evolved into an absurdly prolonged feud, monitored by no war council and fought by no army. It stands as a reminder of the delicate balance between official documentation and real-world events, a balance easily tipped by human error. With each passing generation, the extraordinary persistence of this clerical conflict grew, embedding itself into local lore and capturing the curiosity of later historians. This origin story compels us to appreciate the minor errors that, though seemingly insignificant, possess the power to alter the course of history in the most unforeseen ways. Ultimately, the origins of this war underscore the fragility of human systems and remind us that even minor administrative errors can resonate through centuries, altering the narrative of history in ways that are remarkable and enigmatic. Over time, the war between the Netherlands and the Isles of Scilly assumed a character that defied conventional expectations. The conflict, recognized only in bureaucratic registers and official state documents, was never fought with armies on the battlefield, nor did it provoke widespread public attention. In essence, it was a war that existed more as a legal formality than as a physical confrontation. This peculiar nature has given the war its enduring mystique, inviting both historians and the general public to re-examine what it means to be at war. Every element of the conflict was confined to the realms of paper and protocol, where the mere existence of a declaration sufficed to sustain a state of hostility. The Netherlands maintained meticulous records, and the error was allowed to persist, transforming from a minor administrative oversight into a centuries-long enigma. Meanwhile, the Isles of Scilly continued their daily lives, scarcely aware that they were entangled in a dispute that had acquired the aura of legend rather than the brutality of combat. The absence of battles and casualties only deepened the mystery, prompting reflective analysis and even a sense of humor about the entire affair. From an administrative perspective, this war is a study in how imperfections in official documentation can take on a life of their own. The conflict was cataloged, archived, and passed down through the annals of state records, each generation inheriting a dispute that was never practically addressed. This unsung war blurs the boundaries between legal technicality and historical reality, challenging our perceptions of what constitutes a true conflict. Instead of being defined by bloodshed or conquest, it was marked by an ongoing commitment to an outdated legal declaration whose significance faded in the absence of genuine military action. The nature of this war invites us to ponder the strange interplay between policy and practice, between the ideals of law and the unpredictable flow of time. It demonstrates that sometimes the most enduring conflicts are those that are fought not on battlefields, but in the intricate corridors of bureaucracy and archival record. In reflecting on this, one finds an unexpected narrative of persistence, irony, and administrative quirkiness that resonates deeply with our modern understanding of history. Thus, this conflict challenges our conventional wisdom, reminding us that history is sometimes defined by the quiet, persistent workings of an unwieldy bureaucracy, rather than the clamor of war, indeed profound. Embarking on a chronological journey through the long lineage of this peculiar war reveals a series of milestones that punctuated its 335-year existence. In the early years, the administrative era set a precedent by quietly establishing a state of war without any military engagement. As records show, the initial declaration in 1651 was merely a formality, a clerical note in the annals of state affairs. Over the subsequent decades, the era persisted in official documents, surviving the ebbs and flows of political turbulence and evolving state structures. Moving into the 18th century, the inadvertent conflict was inherited by successive generations of officials, each of whom recognized it as nothing more than a technical oversight. However, during this period, the era began to be mentioned in more detail within local records, becoming a minor footnote that periodically surfaced in administrative reviews. This enduring document error wove itself into the fabric of both local lore and national records, gradually morphing into a curiosity that baffled future scholars who later examined archival materials. In the 19th century, as the world entered an age of rapid industrialization and sweeping social change, the anomaly of this forgotten war gained renewed attention. Historians and archivists, intrigued by the persistence of a conflict that had never seen a single battle, began to scrutinize the official files. Their investigations revealed that the war had been maintained simply by inertia, a legal relic passed down unchallenged from one administration to the next. The prolonged discrepancy was subtly referenced in diplomatic correspondences and government reports, creating an enduring puzzle that defied the conventional narrative of military conflict. By the 20th century, even as global conflicts erupted around the world, the unnoticed war between the Netherlands and the Isles of Scilly remained locked away in bureaucratic records. The persistence of this anomaly prompted modern scholars to re-examine historical documents, leading to a wave of academic interest and public fascination. The gradual accumulation of evidence, from misfiled treaties to overlooked declarations, eventually culminated in an official acknowledgement of the error. In a move that was as much about closing an administrative loop as it was about rectifying historical records, the war was finally declared over in 1986, an ending that was as anticlimactic as its lengthy beginning. Each milestone, from the initial error to its eventual resolution, contributes a unique chapter in a timeline that is as captivating as it is perplexing. The progression of events underscores the slow, almost imperceptible evolution of bureaucratic mistakes into historical phenomena, inviting us to reflect on the curious ways in which history is recorded, remembered, and sometimes simply forgotten. This detailed timeline illuminates the evolution of a war that existed solely in records, yet echoed through centuries. As the modern world advanced into the late 20th century, the forgotten war resurfaced from the recesses of bureaucratic history. A new generation of scholars began poring over ancient state documents, perplexed by the continuing existence of a war that had seen no battles. The re-examination of archival files sparked widespread intrigue, with historians piecing together clues from misfiled treaties and overlooked declarations. Their collective efforts led to a gradual rediscovery that transformed a long-overlooked administrative error into a celebrated historical curiosity. Amid the growing interest, both Dutch officials and representatives from the Isles of Scilly revisited the archaic papers. In a series of calm, meticulously documented meetings, the two sides acknowledged that the conflict, though officially recorded, had never manifested in any overt military action. The process of resolving this lingering dispute became an opportunity to correct historical records and bring closure to an anomaly that had puzzled generations. With cautious optimism, modern administrations took deliberate steps to formally end the war. Official statements were issued, clarifying that the long-standing state of hostility was merely a relic of outdated paperwork. This official closure did more than just amend a clerical error. It symbolically reconciled the past with the present, bridging centuries of administrative oversight with contemporary understanding. By officially declaring the war over, both parties underscored the unrealistic nature of conflicts born purely out of bureaucratic error, inviting reflection on how history is recorded and remembered. These developments mark a fitting epilogue to a conflict that existed solely in the realm of administration, yet managed to capture the imagination of people far beyond its practical implications. Finally, the resolution of this long-dormant war not only corrected historical records, but also reminded the world that even in modern times, the echoes of past mistakes can still offer valuable lessons indeed. In concluding this journey through a war that lasted 335 years without a single clash of arms, a profound reflection emerges. This long-standing administrative anomaly challenges the conventional notions of conflict and reminds us that history is replete with stories that defy our expectations. It is striking to consider that what was once recorded as a war was, in reality, a misinterpreted series of clerical errors that stretched across centuries. The absence of physical battles does not diminish the significance of this narrative. Instead, it emphasizes the power of documentation and the lasting impact of even the most minor oversights. This exploration invites us to appreciate the subtle interplay between bureaucracy and history, a relationship that can sometimes yield the most curious and unexpected outcomes. The story of the 335-year war prompts a reconsideration of the factors that define true conflict, urging us to look beyond the surface and recognize that not every declared war is fought on battlefields. In this case, the enduring error became a symbol of human fallibility and the intricate nature of governance. Ultimately, the lessons drawn from this anomaly encourage a thoughtful examination of how we record, interpret, and remember events. In reflecting on this unique historical episode, one is reminded that the chronicles of the past often contain more than mere facts. They hold insights into the complexities of human error, the persistence of legacy, and the unexpected ways in which history can surprise us. May this story inspire us to seek deeper truths always.